Kingsley, and I'm here to talk about my big passion in life, which is being a Totter and my whole lifetime of junk, or basically my life's rubbish. So Totter comes from the word tot, which is thought to be German for bone, and it comes from rag and bone man, and therefore we have rag and bone men. Right, let me just move us on. There we go. So all rag and bone men are Totters. And Totters are also given licences, so they could pick up rubbish all round, and they could also go and pick the rubbish from the rubbish tips in the old days, which we don't allow them to do now, which I personally think is a shame, but there you go. So, the thing about being a Totter, and you'll always know a good Totter, because they always wear great shoes. All Totters wear dead men's shoes. It's irresistible to go to a house clearance and there are 35 pairs of Churchill shoes for £1 a pair. So all Totters wear good shoes and all Totters wear good coats. It's a fact. So I became a Totter. My mother was fostered in the war and was brought up by Totters. So she was the real proper second-hand Rose, my mother, and of course hated it. My grandmother and my grandfather lived in two Georgian houses in Brighton, just off, quite near the seafront, and they were full, floor to ceiling with rubbish or junk. So you'd open a door and they'd be full of prams. You'd open another door and it'd be full of safes, and another door it would be full of bicycles, and they were Totters. And of course my mother hated it. My grandmother was completely eccentric. She had 3 strands of grey hair left in the end, which she dyed purple, and she used to put both her big, huge, smelly dogs in a Silver Cross pram and go across Brighton in this Silver Cross pram with her 2 Labradors in this pram. And I can remember being a very small child and her getting on the bus. You remember when you used to get on the bus and you could get off at the side? And she got on, causing this massive chaos everywhere she went. And my mother got off at the back, went, let's go, your grandmother's there. So that was my life, and my mother's life. My mother was very, very minimalistic. She had she had cream carpets and white walls, and my grandmother's was the opposite, and I loved my grandmother's. And you either love junk or you don't love junk, and I love junk. And we'd go there to visit her and she'd say, oh, pick what you like, darling. And of course she'd pick out something and take it home. And my mother used to hate it because we'd be covered in fleas from head to toe. My brother used to come out in hives, I didn't. And we used to have to strip off at the front door and my mother would boil wash our clothes after the visit. So it was really quite an interesting life. I didn't go into it, although you're trained as a child, as you're with people who really know the difference between good quality and bad quality stuff. So you're trained. I can look at something and go, that's good quality and that isn't, right from the beginning. And I fostered myself for about 5.5 years. I fostered very challenging children. But I can tell you, they all know what a decent pair of shoes is and what a decent coat is and how to divide for money and what's worth what. So, where was I? Talking about this. So, the Rag and Bone Men, you may well remember Rag and Bone Men. In fact, there was still one in Worthing 10 years ago with a horse and cart, but they no longer exist, which is a shame. I took a different path in life and travelled the world and went into the law and went into government. And one day I was in a really dull meeting and I stood up and said, I'm too old and I'm too rich for this old bollocks, I'm off. And I basically threw my card on the thing and said, I'm off, and I went. And it was fabulous. I went off around the world, and when I came back, I thought, right, I'm going to become a Totter. And I started off by picking up something free from the street, and I sold it, and I flipped it, and I made a £5 on it, and then with my £5 I bought something and made a £10, and before you knew what, I was in business. So that's what I've done. I've got a good eye, and you need to have a good eye. I've got friends who've gone, well, I'll just become a Totter. It doesn't work like that. You need to have taste, and you need to have a good eye, and you might not. Other people might not like it. I just need enough people to like it so that I get to eat. I'd like to sell you being a Totter because it's a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous life. I meet with the most extraordinary people from all around the world. and from all walks of life, lots of them outsiders. I buy from everywhere that you can think of. I buy from car boot sales, Facebook, I go to house clearances, I go to auctions, I'll pick stuff off the street. Anything that'll turn a coin, I'll buy it, and that catches my eye. And I tend to specialise specialise is a posh word for it. My eye is drawn to curiosities and oddities. So one of my little things that I will show you, this is the first thing that I ever bought when I was 11. It cost me £1. It did have 4 legs, but I'm afraid, you know, I'm 150 years old. And it's lost a leg, and I paid £1 for it. It took me 3 weeks to pay it off, and I've loved this, and I've taken this all the way, everywhere I've gone, wherever I've lived in the world, I've taken this. This is my little talisman. And I'm often asked what's my best buy, and my best buy was, I really love Louise Bourgeois' work, and somebody had bought me a Be Calm tea towel, which was, you know, it was just one of her replicas. And about 5 years ago, boot sale in Eastbourne, and there was this tea towel, and it caught my eye because of course I've got one. So I said, "Oh, how much?" And they said, "Oh, 20p." So I got the 20p out. I didn't say, "Would you take 10?" Got home. It's a signed original Louise Bourgeois tea towel worth about £6,000. So that's the best turnout I've ever had in my money, and I still can't bear to sell it. I will do one day, but I can't bear to sell it just yet. So it's my stash. It's my king's ransom at some point. And I brought a few bits and pieces for you to look at and so we can talk about them. Because of course I come across all sorts of things. A little top tip: if you've got stuff that you don't want to turn up at Brighton Marina's car boot sale on a Sunday, get rid of it now. Because I pick up all sorts of things, and I see all sorts of things like naked Polaroids, everything. Anything and everything will turn up there for sale. And I came across, when I first started doing this, I came across lots of stuff and kept sort of kind of keeping it really, because you can't keep it all, because you'd end up being a hoarder. And one of this was letters that had been sent to a gentleman from a dominatrix in the 60s. And they were fascinating, beautiful letters with her going, "You've been very naughty, you're to come on Wednesday, and you're to wear your shorts." This is fantastic. But anyway, and I was going to bring them to this talk, but I've lost them among my belongings now. So they're going to turn up some point when I die, no doubt, and somebody will go, "God, she was odd." Some of the little things, I've bought some little things, a bit show and tell, for you to have a think about. This is a frozen Charlie, and you might have seen or heard about the frozen Charlottes. Can everyone hear me? Yeah, great. And you might have heard about the Frozen Charlottes. Now, Frozen Charlotte comes from a song, which is an old folk song. Charlotte was going off to the ball, and she was going off in the snow on her sledge with her fiancé, and her mother said, "Wrap up," and she didn't want to wrap up because she wanted to show off her great dress. So off she went, and by the time she got to the ball, Charlotte had frozen to death. So what do the Victorians do? It's going to be a lesson for children. Listen to your mother. So from now on, they produced millions of tiny, weeny little frozen Charlottes. You'll have seen them. They've got their arms down by the side normally. And every year, dozens of children used to choke to death on them. So this is a frozen Charlie. So he would have been a boy's toy, and he would have been a toy for playing with in the sea or in the bath. It's quite extraordinary, isn't he? And of course, there's not many of them left because they smash. So that's that. Have I got an assistant? Yes. Sometimes there's little things. Oh, sorry, I won't need you just yet. But sometimes there's little things where. Sometimes there's little things. I went to a car boot sale and I saw this little monkey. Can everyone see him? I'll pass him around. You look at me. He's exquisitely made. He's got a little tiny banana. And I said to the woman there, "Oh, how's the monkey? How much is the monkey?" And she said, "Oh, it's my dad's. He made him when he had, what was the bronchial thing, where they were in hospital for a long time, TB. He made him when he was in hospital with TB, and she said, I'm getting rid of all this stuff. I was like, so I said, oh, well, how much? She said, £2. Oh. So she sold her dad's teddy for £2, and I cannot bear to part with him. So he sits in my curiosity cabinet, but you can pass him around and you can all have a look, because he's very lovely. I'm also a favourite person for the Secret Santa, of course, because my fiver goes a lot farther than most other people's fivers. And things like these little tiny weeny shoes, have you seen them? Aren't they beautiful? I like to think, Edith Piaf's shoes, they're French, and they're tiny and they're warm, and she had size 13 feet, so there they are. This is, I truly thought I'd made my fortune here. You'll never guess what it is until you see it up close, but it is hundreds and hundreds of penny blacks. And I saw that and thought, that's it. That's it, I'm a multi-millionairess, that's it, I've made it. But because they've got a hole in them, they're worthless. Strangest thing I've ever bought, at auction, a light bulb full of human tea. Paid 15 quid for them. I often come across other oddities which I do like, and so I have here prosthetic eyes. And here's a hand-blown glass eye. It is actually an old eye, but those people who buy those newborn babies, these are the very similar blown eyes to that, because your eyeball is the same size when you're born till the day you die, which is an interesting thought. And one day, last knockings at the car boot sale, and I thought, oh, what's that? I'll go, and I had a look, and it was a whole box of these. You might want to have a look. Anyone got any idea? It looks rude. I do trade in Brighton, so I was sort of rather hopeful. It's silver, sterling silver. It was a box of sterling silver, which I paid a fiver for. And they are tracheostomies. So and of course they use silver, surgical level silver. This is another piece. This isn't great for this light, but maybe somebody could have a look. Tell me what they think. Any idea, anyone? No? There's got to be an Orthodox Jew in.
Oh my God.
It's a yad. It's for pointing to read the Torah, thank you. So that you don't, because all Torahs are handwritten. So you don't want your people eventually, when you follow the lines, you don't want greasy fingers on the parchment. So of course you would use a little silver thing, and they always have a little pointy hand. And last but not least, glamorous assistant. I was at an auction. I saw these. I fell in love with them. Said I'm gonna have them. I paid 60 quid for them. Any idea, anyone? Yes, you're right. It's a sawfish rostrum, and it's Victorian, at least Victorian. And if you put them together, what somebody's done, it was so large they've cut it in half the other way, so they're together. So they would have been massive, and that size sawfish doesn't really exist any longer. And really, they should be in a, they should be in a museum really, and I will leave them. So that's me. I'd like to tell you that old Totters, we're not rich. This is not a great way to get rich. Jude Pritchard said, you spend a lot of money and you won't lose a lot of money in this business. But what you do have is you spend a lot of time around very beautiful things, talking and being around very lovely people. It's one of the most equal trades that I've ever been in. Because it's to do with your eye. It doesn't matter who you are, if you're old or rich or gay or whatever, whoever you are, it's your eye that counts. And I often go to Ford Market, and for as long as I've been going, there's been transgendered people there, and no one can give a toss. No, I've never heard anyone say a homophobic, racist, or misogynist thing in all of my years of working, because it's a very equal trade. And if you'd like to get into it, I suggest you do, because it's lovely. You have a beautiful home. You always end up giving best presents to everybody, and it's fun, and it's really good fun. So make a Totter happy, me. Come to Queenie's Attics. I'm at stall 76 in Sneakers Paradise. I'm right at the back, and whenever I go there to fill up, there's always somebody in there going, I hate this stall. And there's always somebody else going, oh no, I love this store, it's my favourite. So that's my life. Thank you very much.